Welcome back to another episode of AUTONEWS NOW. I'm your new host, Laura Harris. On today's episode, host of the Daily Drive podcast, Jamie Butters, sat down with automotive news reporter Lindsay Van Hully. The two talked about the ongoing trial of former Reynolds & Reynolds CEO Bob Brockman. Brockman is currently involved in the largest tax evasion case against an individual in the U.S.
Lindsay Van Hully, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks, Jamie. It's good to be here.
You've been covering the Bob Brockman trial for, months, it seems, maybe years. There's been some news this week. What did the judge decide?
Well, the judge this week issued the long-awaited opinion on Bob Brockman's competency to stand trial. This is going back actually to December of 2020 when his attorneys first requested a competency hearing. And that hearing was held in November of 2021. And we've been waiting for the judge's decision ever since. And so that came this week. And in his opinion, the judge essentially found that Bob Brockman is competent to stand trial. He essentially cites here, the court is very mindful that Brockman is an elderly person who has Parkinson's disease. Goes on to mention he suffers from some degree of cognitive impairment, but says the evidence before the court shows that Brockman is also an extremely intelligent person with both a high cognitive reserve and history of malingering for secondary gain. The government has introduced compelling evidence showing that Brockman exaggerated his cognitive symptoms when he was being examined by medical professionals in the past, and goes on to say that ultimately he's going to be competent to stand trial.
And so so it's a strange word we don't see many places, malingering, but that's sort of the definition there, right? It's acting like he's suffering more than he is in order to gain some sort of advantage.
Yeah, it essentially refers to exaggerating, or feigning symptoms in order to achieve some kind of secondary gain. In this case, to avoid prosecution. Sure.
So, you said this hearing was 6 months ago, and the original charges were almost a year before that. Tell us how we got here. He was still CEO of Reynolds & Reynolds when the charges first came out, right?
That was true. Yes, he was indicted in October of 2020 on 39 counts, including tax evasion, wire fraud, money laundering, and evidence tampering. And the charges essentially are connected to what federal prosecutors have said is a complex scheme involving offshore accounts and evading taxes on $2 billion in income. And so this case has been proceeding through the courts, first in California and now in Texas ever since, and leading up to that competency hearing last November.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can listen to Jamie's full interview and get the headlines on the Daily Drive podcast. It's available on all podcasting platforms. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.